My friend, welcome once again to yet another episode on the Uncommon Market Disruptor podcast, a podcast dedicated to getting you out of that place of being the best kept secret and putting your message in front of those that want it, those that want to pay for it, those for who it would change their life. Just before we dive in, if you've been enjoying the episodes on this show, be sure to one, subscribe, because that's how the algorithm gets to know that we have some amazing stuff going on here. And two, be sure to share this episode with one person that you know this message will bless abundantly. I've been someone that didn't like woo so much. Every time I saw woo work, I was like, ugh, that's too woo for my own liking. But again, I'm the kind of person who doesn't like everything being scientific because I like the flow and I like what happens when you just move. I love motion. I love being guided by your energy and where things are going well. I have built my entire business just doing more of what feels good and more of what's working anyway. And so I've always wanted that nice bridge between woo and practical or science. And today's guest is somebody that is a specialist with that. Like she gets woo and gets science and says, all right, I see you in the middle. I see the middle people. Come here. This is your solution. This is how we get to build a life by design. This is how we get to build the thing that you ultimately are on this planet to build and do it in a way that makes you unstoppable because you're tapping into your brain and you're tapping into your body. And so you're in this place where people look at you and they're like, man, she's a trailblazer. Bea Marie. I'm so excited to have you today. And I really can't wait to dive in.
Oh, thank you so much, Prima, for this beautiful introduction. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for saying yes to this podcast because I know that the person on the other side is about to have some fun. Grab a tea, grab a wine, whatever the thing is for you, and grab a piece of paper and notebook because you're here for a treat, my friend. Hey, why don't you tell us, like, how did we get here?
Yeah, how did we get here? You know, the thing about what you said in the introduction about science and woo-woo, I'm a very logical person. Like my brain needs to understand things. Like I ask until I understand stuff. It's really annoying for a lot of people, but like for me, it needs to make sense. Not for other people, but for me.
Mm-hmm.
And for a long time, I thought that was such a burden, you know, that this my mind is just really blocking me in a way that I cannot just free flow with stuff until I had my first peak performance flow state where, you know, everything just made sense, where everything just was beautifully aligned, and I was in my zone of genius. I was focused, I was determined. I had, you know, like downloads, things that all of a sudden, thoughts that I thought that I didn't think before, and like my heart opened. And this is how I got out of my brain, out of that logical mind. All of a sudden it just whoop, sank into my heart. It sank into my body. And this is how things make sense. All of a sudden, this is how you don't have to question everything. Because when your heart or your body, your gut tells you, this is good, we're going to do this. Your brain in this old programming might say, really? But we've never done this before. This is so awful. No, we're going to die. And you're like, no, we're just going down this road instead of that road. And so what brought me here onto this podcast to you is the energy. It is your energy that pulled me in because I love what you're doing. I love your work. I love to disrupt things, like how I have disrupted myself, like my programming, my upbringing, basically. Because like I said, there was this logical mind, but for some reason, I always thought there must be more, you know, outside of my head. There must be more than just this brain.
Talk about that.
Right? And so this expansion, this dropping into my heart space, and I don't know if you know, but if our heart generates an electromagnetic field that is about a meter or like more than a foot outside of us. This is how we sometimes feel people. Sometimes we meet somebody and we feel them and we're like, oh, that person is not feeling well. Or, ooh, that person is so excited. It's coming, it's flowing into me now. It's because our heart spaces mix. It's kind of like this thing. I see you in the movie Avatar. I see you for your energy. But it's scientific. It's what our heart does. This heart magnetic field does that for us. So this is where I bridge science and woo-woo. This is where I bring the knowledge of what our body is capable of, what our brain is capable of, what the woo-woo, the spiritual world, is not so woo-woo at all. I mean, when people say you're unique and you're here for a reason and you have something great to do on this planet, a lot of people say, yeah, whatever, I'm normal, I'm average, I don't have anything special. But when I tell you that the possibility of you being you in this body, in this country, with the language that you speak, with the eye color that you have, with the dreams that you have, has a possibility of 400 trillion options.
Wow.
You are magic. This is magic. You happening in this body is, it's nearly impossible. You can win the lottery 6 times in a row, and that is highly more likely than you being you right here, right now in this lifetime.
That's so good. That's so good. That's so good. I want to dive into how to tap into that inner brilliance. We all have it. Some people have tapped into it, some people have not. Some people are living another person's life. Some people want to look like somebody else. I know you have a quiz around this, and that's why I'm very excited. Like, how do I start if I am like, I'm not fascinating enough, I'm not exciting enough, I'm not interesting enough? How do I begin to tap into that thing, that spark of mine that the world needs, that I may be dimming down based on patterns, circumstances, experiences, whatever? But for some reason, I'm like dimming my own light, and I have failed or don't know that there is that brilliance inside of me, or that I can bring it alive. How do I start? Like, where do I start from?
That's a great question. And most of the time, this is the first thing that I do with my clients. We create a glow list. Glow, because you said dimming your light. And what we want to do with that glow list is we want to shine the light. Shine the light in the dark spaces. So glow stands for gratitude leads to outstanding wins. So if we know who we are, what we do, and what we're capable of, we will feel, if you want it or not, but we will feel an immense sense of gratitude if we hadn't had that before. And gratitude, and here comes the science again, does something in your brain that enhances the power of your brain. It almost lights up your whole brain when you feel gratitude, and it connects to your heart space. It connects to the heart magnetic field. So gratitude is one of the most powerful emotions that we can feel. So we make a list. You, like everyone who's listening right now, if you have a notepad, you can do this right now. You can just start by today. What have I done today? Not what have I achieved or what kind of successes did I have today, but what did I do today? Because sometimes, come on, let's face it, we have a really shitty day. Sometimes it's really, really, really tough. And some days we don't want to get up. And if that's one of those days today, and you got up and you took a shower and you got dressed, write that down. Because somebody else might have not. or in other circumstances, you might have not. But write down everything that you have accomplished. When I did that for the first time, I blew my own mind, because most of the stuff I forgot.
Wow.
You know, I was like, oh yeah, I did this too. Oh, I did this, you know, and then you're like, woohoo, you're on this roll and you're on this ride and you're going like, yes, oh my God, I did all of this. And that doesn't mean, you know, that you have to invent the wheel or new, or, you know, have like a big, like be on stage, speak, or, you know, be famous or something like that. No, sometimes it's just, you know what? 5 months ago, I smiled at that one person, and today they came and thanked me for it because they had such a shitty day. And just by me smiling at that person, they had a better day. You know, something like this. I had about 8 years ago, I had this kind of experience where I walked down the street and there was this person. I meet them once a day, basically, or in my old neighborhood, I met them once a day. And that one day, you know, I was just in such a good mood, and I was smiling at everybody, and I was just so happy. And I saw that person again, and he looked really, really sad. And so I just looked at him and wished him a wonderful day. And he looked at me like, "What did you say?" I was like, "I'm wishing you a wonderful day." And he's like, "Wow, okay." And he gave me this attitude, and I was like, "Oh, I probably said something wrong." And the year after that, I saw him a couple of times, you know, on the other side of the street or in a supermarket or something. But about a year after that incident, we really like faced each other again. He was like, "Hey, you know what? About a year ago, you wished me a wonderful day and you smiled at me like you really meant that." And I was like, "Well, I did mean it." And he was like, "Well, you know what? That day kind of changed my life."
Wow.
Because I was on my way to a bridge and I wanted to jump off a bridge.
Whoa.
I was like, whoa. Just sharing your light, sharing your joy, sharing like something that you've learned with another person can literally change the course of somebody's life.
Wow. That's powerful. The amount of people who come to me and say, "I'm not in Africa, I'm not in Uganda. I don't have any idea how hard it might have been for you, but your story changed my life," are countless. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll share more of the story. It's amazing. I want to take you off a little bit and push you back to the woo and
Yeah.
science bridge there, because I really want to get there. I want to stick there. Why is it important for people to bridge the woo and science? Why do we need to bridge it?
Because there's so much more out there than what we can see and what we can touch. We live in this 3D world, in this 3D reality. But the fact is that there's so much more out there. There is a 4D, there is a 5D, there is even a 10D.
Wow.
You know, and this in 10D is where the magic happens. This is where your brain is how do you say that? It's not shut off, but it's like you bypass your brain and you're in your senses, you're in your magnetism, you're in your spirit, you're in your aura, you speak with spirits. You know, we think that we live in this dimension. We live here. This is a microphone here, this is my laptop, this is all solid matter, but it's not. Everything is connected through energy. So when we understand that everything exists out of little atoms that are lined together, everything, but the atoms are connected through energy. We understand that this is not solid. This we can change easily. We don't need to go to a plastic surgeon to change something that we don't like. We can actually change that by visualizing it, by creating it, by tapping into what is outside of us. So when I talk about this, a lot of people, they go, what? Because it is hard. It is hard to understand that there are multiple dimensions. We don't live in a universe. We live in a multiverse. The thing is, 10D is great. And that's the problem for a lot of spiritual people, for a lot of light workers, as I like to call them, for people who, they have made it their purpose to level up this planet, to help people to awaken. But the problem is, if we're only playing in the 6D or in the 7D or in the 10D, we don't reach anybody because we're far away. We're really out there. We need to come back here and we need to anchor us in the 3D. And this is where we need to bridge. We need to bridge the tangible. We need to bridge our bodies. We need to anchor our bodies and then expand up. And by doing that and doing this, it's not that hard. Sometimes a lot of people say, I don't like to meditate. I can't meditate. I sit there and it's just boring. You don't have to meditate, but sit with yourself. Sitting with yourself and really feeling into, okay, where am I? How is my body feeling right now? How's my breath right now? Can I feel my heartbeat right now? And then asking simple yes and no questions. When you have felt into your body, when you have felt into your presence, ask simple yes and no questions, first of all. And before you do that, you need to determine what yes and no feels like in your body. Because when you've determined that, when you have established that, it's really easy to just say, okay, I don't know what to do right now, so I'm just gonna give the guidance to somebody else who knows better, which is my higher self, which is my higher wisdom, which is the God energy that I am connected to all the time. So some people have clairvoyance. They see things. Some people hear things. Some people know things. And some people feel things. So the easiest way is always yes and no questions to start with. So, for example, for me, when a yes in my body is this, I lean forward. It's really easy. A no is like I lean back. It's not always this big, but it's just this minor thing that I start to notice. It's like I ask a question, is it yet? I ask a question, for example, is my name Bea? My body does a little shift to the front. If I say, am I a boy? Ooh, like I feel my shoulders drop because I'm obviously not. So when you've established that, you can start with easy questions. You stand in front of your fridge and say, do I want eggs today? What does your body feel like? What is your reaction in your body? You can start with food. It's really easy because your body, the wisdom of your body tells you exactly what you need in nutrition, for example. So, and then you can expand in a way when you have a program, when you don't want to do your job anymore, when you want to change jobs, when you want to change careers, when you feel like you need to do something else. Ask, should I change my job? Would I be happier somewhere else? Should I put out this program? Should I speak at this podcast? Should I? Simple yes and no questions. And the more you do, the more you align with your truth and the more you trust yourself. And that is the big thing. We don't trust ourselves anymore.
Yeah. What you're saying, Bea, is very true because Most times before you go outside to look for the answer, you already have it. Usually the answers, we have them. And things go wrong when we decide to hear another person better than we hear ourselves, because most people are trying to really help us live their own life or their reality. Or so how can someone today begin to trust themselves more so they can tap into their own present moments and find answers that they so have, but have grown into this culture of, oh, what should I do? I need another mentor. I need another coach. Maybe you don't.
Yes. I love what you're saying, because yes, it is so true. We have the answers in us. That's why I say, ask yourself. Don't ask somebody else, because they look at the problem through their lens, through their upbringing, through their programming. So I need to circle back to the beginning, to what you said, because you said you follow your joy. You follow what feels good. And this is the guiding star for us. Whatever feels good to you is your North Star. This is where you need to go. And trusting in that. And really, it is a physical reaction. If you don't trust your brain, because come on, our brain is amazing. It's a supercomputer, but it's also in the past. It lives in the past. It can only give you advice from past experiences. But your body, your heart, is tapped into something greater. You can call it God, universe, higher power, whatever you believe in, like you can call it intuition, you can call it channeling, we all speak the same language, but we speak completely different words sometimes. So whatever you need to do to feel good in your body is where to start. Because 99% of the time, when somebody tells you to do something and you have a reaction to that, you either feel good about doing it or you don't feel good about doing it. What do? When we don't feel good about it, we start questioning ourselves. It's, the person told us to do that because, it's important for this. And then we talk ourselves into doing something that does not feel good. Because from childhood on, we have been taught to do that. I don't know about you, but when I was little, I wanted to run around naked all the time. We lived in a 12 party house, like with 12 other families. And from the fourth floor down to the street, naked, running around everywhere. I lived in a very big city. My mom was just like, no, it's too cold. It's too cold. So I went out on the balcony. I didn't feel cold, but she told me it was too cold. So I put on clothes. And when you hear that multiple times, that it is cold when you don't feel cold, you stop trusting your feelings. You stop trusting what you know to be true.
That's powerful. When I grew up, my dad used to literally talk to us as we ate food, and he'll be like, who are the doctors? Who are the engineers? Who are the lawyers? Anything else wasn't something. And so when I grew up, I just knew that if you're not a doctor, you're not a lawyer, you're not an engineer, you have failed. But there was this thing in me that wanted to do business because my mom did business. But I never got myself to step out and do it because I thought my dad must be right. And so I kept telling myself, well, but you have to be an engineer, but you have to be a lawyer, but you have to be this. And 25 years later, I woke up and I was an engineering job, a job I didn't like. And I was like, this is it. Like, I'm done following that, and I'm going to just follow what I want. If I fail, good. If I die trying to fail, good. I just don't feel good about this thing. And that is when I pivoted and started doing my entrepreneurship stuff, started doing my MBA. And I was like, well, Dad, this could have been the life you want for me, but I want something else for myself. But if I tell you that I had the formula for that, I didn't. I just felt like this doesn't seem like the life I want. And I just had to go against Dad and just pivot. But I didn't have like a formula for that. I just went for it. So.
Yeah. And there you tapped into your basic trust, into the trust that you came into this world with. You circled back, you rewilded yourself, basically.
Yeah. And based on that, I began to trust myself more because that turned out even better. And then I made better decisions. And then I made better decisions. And I started to trust my instinct more from that point. But I'm just wondering, if someone has never gone against the grain, how do they kind of tap into that? Because for me, it was like, against the grain, Dad, I love you, but no, I don't want to keep going this way, you know? And I was ready to face the consequence. I'm just wondering, if someone has never tapped into that, well, where do they start?
Okay, what I'm going to say right now is probably going to trigger a lot of people.
Okay.
So you need to make a decision. And you need to stick with your decision. If you are miserable where you are right now, you need to make a decision to change it and then follow that decision wherever it takes you. If you do not do that, you will stay miserable. And you cannot blame anybody else but yourself. Because you're the only one on this planet who can change the course of your life. There will not be a knight in shining armor. There will not be a CEO pointing at you saying, yes, you are exactly the person that we need right now. No, you need to step up. You need to raise your vibration. You need to raise your energy to be seen, to be the light that people can then say, yes, exactly what you are doing. This is what we need. If you do not shine, if you sit in your gutter and throw with dirt around you, nobody will see you because you will blend in with the mud.
I like that, Bea, and I want to keep you there, because now comes an important topic that I know you're very passionate about, which is like, yes, I hear you, Bea, but imposter syndrome has me by the throat. So how do I move past the feelings of, but I'm not qualified, but I'm not good enough, but I'm not worthy, but I'm not all of these things, into the thing you want me to step in and shine, because I don't even know that I'm qualified or that I'm good enough? How do I deal with imposter syndrome?
Okay. So the questions of, I don't know if I'm good enough. I'm not this, I'm not that. Who told you that? First and foremost. Who told you that? Because I truly believe imposter syndrome does not exist. Imposter syndrome is just a term that somehow, someday came up because too many people started becoming more powerful, stepping more into their essence, stepping more into their truth. So a little bit of history here, because a lot of what we deal with today is rooted in history. And so in the I know I told you the story already, but I'm going to share it again. So in the 1900s, the bicycle was created. And the bicycle was a revolution, because now not only men could go places, in their cars, with their horses, in their carriages. No, also women could ride their bicycles, and they could go from city to city. They could empower themselves, they could exchange, they could mingle, and they were not confined to their homes anymore. So all of a sudden, with the rise of the bicycle, there was also the rise of the illness, the bicycle face. I don't know if you heard of this, but the symptoms of the bicycle face were flushed cheeks, wide open eyes, a light sweat on your skin, and high heart rate, and overall excitement, or not excitement, they used a different term, but I'm going to use excitement. So when you just listen to that, it sounds actually really good, right? It's like, oh, flushed cheeks, excitement, high heart rate. Ooh, that sounds like a fun time. But they made it so that, and that phenomenon only occurred in women, by the way. Men didn't have that. And just like imposter syndrome hits mostly successful women or women who are going on their way and dancing to the beat of their own drum, all of those things are things that are put upon us. That doesn't come from us. When you were a child, you didn't think, I'm not good enough. You just danced everywhere you went. When you were a child, you didn't think, ooh, I cannot kick the ball. No, you just kicked the ball. So when we feel something in our body, when we have a dream, when we have a vision, and there comes the spiritual, the woo part again, it is especially given to you. Nobody else sees that. Nobody else understands your vision. Nobody else understands your wish, because it is only given to you. And what happens then is our programming, our upbringing, our education, societal norms, everything crashes onto that vision and dissects it so that you either don't do it or you do it in a societal appropriate way.
That's very good.
But to really come into your presence, to really get out of where you are, you need, like you said, you need to listen to only you. When it feels good, when it feels like, when you get excited just thinking about something, it's kind of like falling in love. You know, when you think about a person and you're like, ooh, I get the shivers, I get like the butterfly in my stomach kind of thing. This is when you tap into that with your vision, with your dreams, this is where you need to go. And then you need to make that decision. Imposter syndrome is just another hurdle. It is just another name that was put in front of you to maybe even test if you really want what you want. And if you really want what you want, you're just going to step over that hurdle.
I really like it.
Feel something in our body. When we have a dream, when we have a vision, and there comes the spiritual, the woo part again, it is especially given to you. Nobody else sees that. Nobody else understands your vision. Nobody else understands your wish, because it is only given to you. And what happens then is our programming, our upbringing, our education, societal norms, everything crashes onto that vision and dissects it so that you either don't do it or you do it in a societal appropriate way.
That's very good.
But to really come into your presence, to really get out of where you are, you need, like you said, you need to listen to only you. When it feels good, when it feels like, when you get excited just thinking about something, it's kind of like falling in love. You know, when you think about a person and you're like, ooh, I get the shivers, I get like the butterfly in my stomach kind of thing. This is when you tap into that with your vision, with your dreams, this is where you need to go. And then you need to make that decision. Imposter syndrome is just another hurdle. It is just another name that was put in front of you to maybe even test if you really want what you want. And if you really want what you want, you're just going to step over that hurdle.
I really like it. What do you wish you knew before starting out the work that you do right now?
Oh, I wish I knew that imposter syndrome doesn't exist. I wish I knew that I was incredible, that I was powerful, and that I had a voice and that I have a message to share. I wish I knew how powerful we all are.
What's the best advice for Bea 3 years ago?
Just do it. Just do it. Stop thinking about it. Stop dissecting everything. Just do it. Perfect is not, there is no perfection.
I'd love to take you 100 years from now. Nothing of yours exists. The books, the programs, everything is gone back. But you're sat in heaven somewhere and you're thinking, this is what I want to be remembered for years and years and years and years when I'm not here anymore. What is that in a minute?
That the world is a better place because I walked it.
I love it. It's your last day on the planet. You have a minute or two to leave. You have the most precious person on the other side of the mic. Maybe it's your daughter. Maybe it's your granddaughter. I don't know. Bea, it's the most precious person you'll ever speak to. But you have a minute to speak into them. And you would love to tell them what you know to be true, to operate in flow and tap onto the highest version and build that life that they want to build, the life by design, the life on their terms. You have a minute to speak into them. They'll never see you again after that. What would you tell them?
That love is always the answer. And that you already have everything that you need inside of you. And that if you really want something, you can have it. If you don't get it, then you probably didn't really want it. But if you really want something, you get it because you put your whole heart in it. You put all of your mind in it. You put everything, every energetic fiber of your being in it. Then you will get it.
What's the best part of running 52 weeks of flow? What's your best part of that show?
To connect to amazing people. I'm a lifelong learner and I just love to learn. And I cannot wait for you to come on my show, by the way. I love to connect to people and I love to learn from incredible women and incredible men. And so this 52 Weeks of Flow podcast is just my gateway to having this resource to incredible minds.
Why is it so important to create, move, work in flow, Bea?
Because when you're not in flow, you're not happy most of the time. When you're in flow, you're the happiest because you're riding your purpose, you're riding your wave. I always compare it to surfing. You know, you struggle so much trying to learn and trying to tame the wave until you surrender and until you just give yourself up to the water, to the ocean. And that is when flow happens. When you surrender to your vision, to the greater vision, you're automatically in flow.
What is the hardest part of being Bea Marie and working with amazing people on this planet?
You know, everything that I told you today is stuff that I do for myself as well. I'm not above and beyond. I'm still in it. I may be 5 steps ahead, but I'm also still doing the work. So when I'm in a room with amazing, powerful people, I ask myself, what am I doing here? Like, I'm in the wrong room. You know, I'm like the smallest flame right here. Like, what am I doing? But then I remind myself, I am in the room. I made it into the room. That's why I have a right to be here. It is necessary for me to be in that room. If I didn't make it to the room, then that wasn't my room. So this is one thing that I learn every day. And also bridging the gap between my family life and my business. You know, I have 2 kids, I have a husband, I have a dog, it's like spending time with and creating time and making time. And, you know, we can talk about the concept of time on another podcast because that will be a whole another episode. But to really live in this 3D reality, but also doing the work that I do sometimes is hard because it's exhausting if I don't take care of myself. And taking care of yourself is one of the biggest things that I was allowed to learn in the past 3 years. Because I was hustling, I was grinding, I was doing all of that. I was I think on more than 100 shows in the last 2 years. And yeah, it was madness. And at some point, I heard this voice saying, "Really? Are you going to keep this up the whole time without, taking a break, taking a drink, sitting down with yourself and just really listening to your body, because your body is screaming at the moment and saying, stop."
Your energy is so funny.
So really, that, like, this is the hardest part for me at the moment, to not saying yes to everything and to ground myself in who I am and what my path is, and to take care of myself and be mindful of my energy.
You'll definitely be hearing from Bea again. I must bring her back. Bea, what is the one question I didn't ask that could change someone's life, but I didn't ask it? You would like to answer it anyway.
Oh, that's such a good question. A lot of times I get asked, how do we do stuff? How to do? And I would like to answer that with, don't look for the how. Ask yourself, what can I do to make this happen? Not how. The how is outside of us, because the how is like, it's how, God, higher power, universe. Hello, everybody, spouse, husband, neighbors, how? But when we change the how to what can I do right now to make this dream a reality, this job, this whatever, then we pull it to us. And then we can answer the questions then we can give the answers that are already inside of us.
I love it, Bea. If somebody was listening in on the other side and they were like, I love her, I love all of the things she's talked about, I can't wait to dig in, I can't wait to dive in. What should they do from here to access you, access your amazing work? What is step one into the world of Bea Marie?
Yeah, I like to call it, I earlier said, we don't live in a universe, we live in a multiverse. So if you want to enter the Beaverse, you can just drop me a DM on Instagram. You can find me there, moving_river, or I'm also on Facebook. On LinkedIn, you can find me under Bea Marie Anine. And I also have a website called www.superwoman.coach. There I have an amazing quiz where you can just check out what your superpower is, because we haven't talked about superpowers today in depth. So if you want to start your superpowered journey, your superpowered life, if you're curious what the woo in your life is, then come to my website and take the quiz. It's free and it's a lot of fun.
I love it. If you missed anything she said, don't worry about it. Everything about Bea Marie and how to access her amazing world will be rightfully placed in the show notes. So wherever you're watching this from, wherever you're listening to this podcast from, just scroll through the notes. And right towards the top, you should rightfully see the website, the social media, the quiz, and all of the amazing work that she does that you can get in. She also has a podcast called 52 Weeks of Flow. And my friend, I want you to be on that podcast. Bea Marie, we are winding up now, but there is someone on the other side, the best kept secret, who lives in 3D, or maybe they have tapped into some of this spiritual side or not, but they are the best kept secret. And that is because they haven't fully tapped into what's beyond the 3D, what is beyond the surface, what is beyond these old patterns, what is beyond what I have been told. I want you to speak in her life. You have a minute, and that's all we'll close with. It's like your last words, but I want you to speak to the best kept secret on the other side of the microphone.
Okay. If you know it or not, you're bigger than you are. You're grander than you are. Everything that you dream of Everything, even the dreams that seem so audacious, is for you to bring into this reality. Everything is handed to you. The thing that you need to do is to trust in yourself that you are capable of achieving this. Because you are, otherwise you wouldn't have been given that vision. You wouldn't have been given the tools. You wouldn't have been given people that came into your life. They are all stepping stones towards your visions, to fulfill your dream, to fulfill your vision. If you want to stay the best kept secret, that's fine. But if you want to live a life of legacy, and if you want to make an impact in the world, follow your vision, follow your dreams, and the people and the opportunities and the jobs will come. They will line up as soon as you decide to step into your legacy.
Hasn't she been the most amazing guest of all time? Bea Marie, it's been my honor to have you on the Uncommon Market Disruptor podcast. And the most amazing person on the other side. You could have been on a million other podcasts in this world. You chose this one. And I want to honor you. I want to celebrate you for trusting your intuition and being on this podcast. I sincerely hope this has served you or blessed your life. If you haven't already, subscribe. And please share this episode with one person that you know needs to meet the amazing Bea Marie. Thank you for your time today. I will talk to you very, very soon.